Hello and welcome to the video on Chapter 12 on the subject of reporting, adjusting, and closing. I'd like to introduce something new this module, and it's something I'd like you to try and then give me your feedback. The Chapter 12 module contains a page called Chapter 12 Quiz Study List. This page contains a copy of the same questions that are in the Chapter 12 quiz. My thought is that you can use this to research your answers to the quiz. Then when you take the quiz, you won't have to go back and forth between the quiz and the ebook. When you provide general feedback on the module in the discussion section, please give me your feelings as to whether this is useful or not. Chapter 12 is laid out in approximately 6 sections, and at the end of each area of teaching there is a develop your skills exercise. And I'd like to go through and just list these because I think this will give you an idea of what the chapter contains. The first one is verify fiscal period, and it's DYS-1 on page 502. When you are verifying the fiscal period, you are basically determining what is the date of the start and end of the fiscal year that's been set for this company. The next thing is to learn how to run a trial balance report, DYS-2 on page 507. Trial balance reports are very important. They basically list all of the accounts that have a balance, and they show you the debit and credit balance for each account. The book points out that in the olden days, when you did this by paper and pencil, you used the trial balance to determine if your accounts were in balance. And if not, if the debits didn't equal the credits, then you had to go find where the error was and fix it. Nowadays, because QuickBooks never allows the debits and credits to be unequal, it doesn't really serve that same purpose. But it is a very good, has a very good use in this closing period work that we're going to be doing. We want to adjust the inventory and make adjusting entries. That's DYS-3. And adjusting entries are very important, and I'll mention a little more about those in a moment. DYS-3 starts on page 512. Then it talks about creating financial statements, DYS-4 on page 519, and how to set price levels and use in transactions. Basically what this is where you have priced all of your, say, inventory items or the things like services and materials that you supply. And what price levels allows you to do is simply increase all prices at once by a given percent or amount, usually a percent. So that, for example, if you said, well, we need to increase our prices, our price for objects by 1% this year, you can simply do that and it will change all of them at once. That DYS-5 begins on page 524. The last item in the chapter is correcting transactions from closed periods and the audit trail report. One of the more difficult tasks described in this chapter is making adjusting entries. The problem with adjusting entries is that this is a place where you have to be able to identify the debit and credit balance for an adjustment. And all along through QuickBooks, it tries to make it so you don't have to really know about or pay attention to the debit and credit aspect of when you're making transactions. When it comes to adjusting entries, these are standard journal entries and they have to be done in a debit and credit fashion. Adjusting entries are entered by clicking on the Company Make Journal General Entries menu. And in at that location you will have to determine the accounts to be adjusted and then whether to debit or credit each account. In the section called Digging In Behind the Scenes with Adjusting Entries on page 508, there's a very good explanation of how to make journal entries called Making Journal Entries. Study this carefully because it's a very important accounting concept. For our quiz, you may review the quiz by looking at the previously mentioned Chapter 12 Quiz Study List. In our project, Chapter 12 Apply Your Skills, after you read Chapter 12, you should complete Apply Your Skills sections 12.1, 12.2, and 12.3, and these are shown on page 534 and 535. Be sure to change the name of your company as directed in the section immediately preceding AYS 12-1. Do not do Apply Your Skills section 12-4. Once you have completed section 12-3, you're to print out as a PDF file the following two one-page reports. So there are two reports, each a page long. The summary document showing the total equity for 4/30/16, and the check sum for this report is an equity of $50,000. The file name that you save this document under should be April Equity Chapter 12. A summary document should also be printed showing the total equity for 5/31/16. The check sum for this report is an equity value of $74,416.82. By the way, all of this information is contained in the actual assignment. The file name for this document should be May Equity Chapter 12.pdf. If either report does not produce the correct checksum value, you have made an error, and you should continue working on it until you correct the results. When you go to submit your assignments, you'll click on the upper right corner and you'll upload the two files as you've done in a previous chapter. The last thing on our list of assessments is our discussion, and in this discussion, in addition to sharing with me and the other students your comments, suggestions, questions, etc. that you might have relating to this module, also let me know if you think this quiz question list was helpful in taking the quiz. I would appreciate your feedback. Thank you. Have a great module.